All right. Welcome to Segments Formed by Chords, Level 4. Now, in this very first example, they are asking us to find DC. And when I look at this, I first want to ask myself, are we talking about angles or are we talking about segments? Now, in this case, we see inches, and anytime we see inches, centimeters, feet, meters, any type of length, we know we're talking about segments. So we'll turn to our formula chart, and we'll look at those bottom four circle examples. And we see that this most closely resembles example 4, all the way on the bottom right. So now, when we look at that, what we notice is this. Our segments are basically broken up into two pieces. So they'll take that first segment, DB, and then according to the formula chart, we multiply by the second segment, BC. We can now set that equal to, we look at our other line, and we know we break it up into the pieces. So I can write AB times our second piece of that line, BF. Once again, just so you understand, we're doing this piece times that piece, and this piece times that piece. Now let's plug in all the things we know. We know that DB is 6 times, we see BC is parentheses 5x minus 6. Always make sure you write your parentheses. We know that AB is parentheses 2x plus 4. And we know that BF is going to be 8. Okay. Now from here we just have to do some simple algebra, and I would encourage you to pause the video and try the algebra out on your own. So go ahead and pause it. Alright, and we're back, and let's go and see if you were able to get the right answer. We know when we have a number outside of the parentheses, we need to distribute. So 6 times 5 would give us 30x. We have 6 times negative 6, which would be negative 36. We'll set that equal to. And we notice over here we have the 8. It's on the other side of the parentheses. And that doesn't matter. We can still distribute it. So we have 8 times 2, which would give us 16x. And 8 times 4, which would give us 32. Now from here we see we have x's on both sides, and which x do we want to move, the larger or the smaller one? Well, it's typically better to move the smaller x. So minus 16x minus 16x. And what is 30x minus 16x? Well, that will give us 14x minus 36 equals, we have our 0 pair, and 32. Alright, from here, we're looking on this left side. We want to get the x by itself. The first thing we want to do is get rid of our constant. And how do we get rid of a negative 36? Well, we know we want to add 36. So plus 36 plus 36. Make that 6 better. And we're going to get this. I'm going to bring this right up here. We're going to get 14x equals, and 32 plus 36 will give us 68. Alright. Now, we know we have a number in front of x. So how can we get rid of that number? Well, we know we need to divide. So I divide both sides by 14. And it turns out x will equal, let's go to our calculator. And turns out we'll do 68 divided by 14, which will give us 4.86 after we round. 4.86. Now, once again, you have to ask yourself this question. Have I answered the question being asked? And we have not. We need to find out what is DC. So I'm going to come right here. I'm going to write x equals 4.86. And if you need to, pause the video, but I'm going to go ahead and erase this so I have a little bit more space to work. Erasing, erasing, erasing. I promise at some point I'll find a faster way to do this. If you want a handy little trick, for YouTube, you can always click on the right side of the screen twice, and it will skip ahead 15 seconds. If you didn't know that, now you do, and now you have a quicker way to flip through the video if you know a certain section. Oh, we're almost there. It's almost all gone. Dear Mr. Hastings, we need you to learn how to erase quicker. Okay. Alright, so we know that x is 4.68. We know that we are trying to find DC. In fact, let me even switch to a different color. We know we're trying to find this entire line DC. And the way that we can write DC is we can write it as 6 plus parentheses 5x minus 6. Because whenever we know two pieces of a whole, we know we have to add them together. So now we can write 6 plus parentheses 5 parentheses. We know our x value is 4.86 close parentheses minus 6. And now we're just going to have to follow our order of operations. So here we'll first do 5 times 4.86, which we know will be, this right here will give us 24.3 minus 6, that's still in parentheses, plus 6. And so 24.3 minus 6 will give us 18.3. Remember, that was everything here in the parentheses, so we still need this plus 6. And then, of course, y'all should know this. What is 6 plus 18? Well, that would give us 24.3. And in this case, it would be inches. And that is the length of DC. Now, by the way, if you missed this problem on the test, the reason was you just didn't take your x value and plug it back in. So just be very aware we have to do that. Go ahead, pause that if you still need to finish up these notes. And we're going to move on to example 2. Okay, let's go ahead and start out with a nice teal. We'll have example 2. Now let me go ahead and draw this first so I know my letters. And let's say this is A, let's say this is B, and here we have C, and here we have D. And of course we need a letter in the middle. Let's call that E. Now I'm going to write an X right there, an X right there, and let's say this is 9, and let's say this is, let's say 6 inches and inches. And I want you to find, you know what, that is sloppy. You can do better. I want you to find this whole length. I want y'all to find AB. Okay, so find AB. Well, we know that because we see inches, we have a length. We know that we're looking on our formula chart at segments. And this most closely resembles our example 4, where we are always going to do a piece times a piece. And so let's see. So we'll have AE, that's our very first piece of the line, times EB, that's a B, equals, and here we have our first piece, which will be CE, times our second piece, which will be ED. Okay. And once again, we see that we have E in the middle of all of these, and that's our point of intersection, so of course that should make sense. Let's go ahead and switch to this UT burnt orange, and let's say, hey, what is AE? So I come back here, and I see AE is an X times, come right here, I see EB is also an X, equals, we have CE, which was 9, times ED, which was 6. Now, I would go ahead and encourage you to pause the video, try out the algebra on your own, and see if you can get this right without my help. And here we go. So we have x times x. Let's see, what is x times x? Well, that would actually give us x squared equals, we have 9 times 6, which we know that 9 times 6 is going to be 54. And now we have x squared equals 54. Well, we're one step away, and how do you get rid of a square? You have to take the square root. And of course, what we do to the left, we did to the right. Now, our square root and our square, they cancel, and we're left over with x equals. And I have to go to my calculator here. Let's see, the square root of 54 turns out to be 7.35 when we round. Now, this is the value of x. And once again, you have to ask yourself, are we answering the question that's being asked? Well, the question asks us to find AB. So we haven't quite finished yet. So we'll look back here at AB, And we know that AB can basically be written as x plus x, or we know 2x. Basically, all we're saying is we have to take this x value, and since there's two x's, we multiply it times 2. And so our AB will really be this. 2 times 7.35, which will give us 14.7. And that is the length of AB. All right. I hope this helps. Good luck, and God bless.